1 2 1 2. This is Volothamp Modulus Tautology. And apologies for the delay. Back with another video. As my man DeAndre would say, right? That's how he leads his things off. And I'm gonna share a little bit of DeAndre today. Yes, shout out to him in Detroit HD TV. He's going to recap some of the stuff we were rapping about. What you're seeing on your screen right now is since this is Halloween week, this Friday, I guess, or whatever. Let me see, what's today's day? Let me stamp date this stuff. And so today is the 27th. Okay. So we're looking at the 27th here. Let me look at my Nintendo calendar, because I got this Nintendo app. I know that ain't working for me. I got to go to the regular calendar, I guess. So I go to the regular calendar. Okay, so the 31st is Friday. So today is the 27th. I'll get this up around 1 o'clock or so. So you're looking at pre-noon. And the game that we're looking at right now is Call of the Lamb. Right? Let me get my shout outs out, right? Shout out to the Black Squad again. Shout out to Daryl Weston. And I'll just do those two for now. And DeAndre, of course, because I'm going to share a little bit. Oh, TD Media Group. But I still call it TD Media Hip Hop. Let me take a sip of my... I'm drinking this... like I've been drinking pumpkin coffee. But I got a little bit of... They had a special one. Amaretto or something. This is off the chain, right? So this is Call of the Lamb. I played a little bit of it before. I figured I gotta play some dark games, right? Cause it's Halloween week. So I'm gonna do. I was planning on doing card games this week, but with the card game thing, my son is he's learning and teaching Pity Pat. We figured that'd be the best game to start with. Like, we could have did like I Declare War, or another one is Memory. Those type of games. Uno, but Uno is a little more advanced, or Hearts. That's a little more advanced. We figured we'd start with the real basic ones. Tonk is a basic one we might get into. But there's a lot of games you can play with cards, a lot of games you can play with dice, a lot of games you can play with a chessboard. Whether it's checkers or chess, you can modify the rules however you would like, because there's a thing called house rules, and we're getting all of that, those details as we keep presenting game theory is what we're studying. We're trying to be game theorists. That what coincides with that is group theory. We'll get more into that. Think of a Rubik's Cube. Think of the four color theorem. But then when I say four color theorem, that's when we add color theory to it. And what does that truly mean when dealing with either the logic or illogical? Which is where we usually place, emotions being illogical, or so my Trekkies would say that, love Mr. Spock, So, but let me hit this play button. Let me hit the button first, see what's going on. All right, there we go. Cult of the Lamb. Yes, this is a very dark game. But it is hip hop. I mean, this is a hip hop game. I got all the DLC except for the latest one, which is like $10. Maybe if I start really playing this game, I played a little bit. It's an action RPG-ish type of game. It's what you call what do we call these things again? It's a indie game. Indie meaning an individual group made it. So a small group of people came together and made this. And but this is probably a bigger indie group. It is more than just, it's probably less than 100 people, but more than 10 or whatever, But what we want to do one day, eventually, my son and I, would be to make our own game. So we're we're studying the indie games in order to achieve that. And it's cool to be a little risque. My mom would frown, like she probably skipping right past this video today because she don't do anything higher than PG. That's what she is, one of the parents that created the PG-13. Right, don't get it wrong. My mom back in the '60s, she marched around Girard College when they wouldn't let the black boys go to the school there. So she's a rebel in that aspect, and that's why I proclaim that hip hop is an American culture created by people like myself, the children of the 1960s civil rights movement. She was still, a teeny bopper when that happened, so she was still a child, back in the '60s too. Um, and of course Malcolm X, Martin Luther King were a little older, but they were young. They died young. That's what we have to start understanding. Because I'm in my mid 50s. I'm hitting my mid 50s, and my son is hitting 14. So I skipped a generation, but he's a old but young spirit, and I love. We spent time together yesterday, and we're coming up with game plans on what we're going to, the content that we're going to create, and things of that nature, and right now hip hop is underground again. That's why it's like all the stuff that you're saying is rap music, and we go through that kind of a cycle, and that's when I get into the explanations of what's called the sine curve and the cosine curve, and how they are offset by, I think, 90 degrees or radians. Or we're going to get into the deep mathematics of things later date. We don't want to scare y'all off just yet, but we are going to continue to share our friend Professor X, Kill Parker. I'm slowly integrating everything that I want to integrate in. Him over there at All This Math is his YouTube page. We're linking up with Fathers Read 365. That's Brent and his associates. They're more of reading for kindergarten, first through fifth grade, like early reading. So that's why we started analyzing the classics and looking at the ethics and morals of, say, the Three Little Pigs, or The Boy Who Cried Wolf is a big one, right? Because that's all these politicians are doing, is crying wolf. And that's why I kind of realigned the generation, saying that 1960 to 1979, that's Generation X. That's my generation. And Barack Obama represents the beginning of that. He's not, I don't consider him a baby boomer. He's a Generation X. He's just older than me. And that's why he's kind of a knucklehead, because he learned the culture. Well, Jay-Z taught him the culture. Jay-Z got me by a couple years, about 4 or 5 years or so. But he didn't explain it to him all the way. And then we go into what the topic really has been. Here I go rapping all the time, right? But I got to get all this in, just to make sure, catch y'all up to where we at. Yeah, Jay-Z is not a boss. I would concede. His name's slipping my mind right now. I'm mad that it's slipping my mind. His partner, y'all know who it is. He's more of a boss. Jay-Z is more of the Don position. But I'm not going there yet with them, with their clique that came out of New York and whatever. Like, I'm still at the beginning with Rakim, Big Daddy Kane, KRS One, LL Cool J. No particular order right now, but I am giving it in the order right now. But I have to first explain the coordinate planes and why I'm saying 0 is the origin. That's why I put Sugar Hill Gang there, and then 1 would be Rakim, because that's when it changed to what hip hop is today, but it's still underground, because I can mention KRS One. If you're a hip hop, you know exactly who I'm talking about. You know he's the teacher, but you'll notice that these politicians do not want to mention his name, because hip hop has gone underground again, because they're exploiting us with all this psychological Western psychological colloquial rhetoric, right? And in to the culture by this rap music that's actually detrimental, and blaming all of the culture for, and we'll get to pointing fingers and blaming. But the two people that I'm talking about is the two black mayors, Eric Adams of New York, he's a boss, and the mayor of Chicago, uh, I random. Well, he's going to say in the videos, because I'm trying to stay out of politics. I'm trying to just get into the games. Let me see, play day one, I guess. Yeah, I'm just going in here because this is where I left off last. You'll see a lot of geometry that's associated with quote unquote demon worship and stuff like that. But we want to get into what am I calling it? I'm calling it not abstract, but I'm trying to explain too much when it comes to this game and the darkness of it. But it's Halloween. We're supposed to be celebrating that, and I'm already thinking about more music and stuff that I want to share this week, being that it is the week of Halloween and the dark times or whatever. So, but isn't he cute, right? So let me go into this video real quick. I already know I spent too much time explaining all this and stuff, but I'm gonna leave it right here. So for after the video to play a little bit of and to comment a little bit on what DeAndre's about to say. I hope y'all enjoy the video. It's short. He's going to repeat a lot of the stuff that Brandon Johnson is the mayor of Chicago, but I'm gonna let DeAndre talk a little bit about it and share a little bit of a little recap of the TD media, and not to pound it in your heads, but just to show that that's where I am with GNX. We're trying to come back together and, all right, this is what our culture is supposed to be. We're foundational black Americans. Let's start rebuilding our culture and stop listening to these people that's outside of the culture try to dictate what our culture is. Now that's our job to do it, and that's our responsibility to do it, and that's what we're doing. Darn it. All right, my mom might be listening, and she don't play those dark, evil games. Like, mom, chill out. All right. There it is. I'll be right back. Hope y'all enjoy this little, presentation. I'm muting my mic about now.
This Detroit's HPTV coming to you out of Detroit, back with another video on this early Monday morning. Now, this weekend we seen the No Kings protest, as if we already don't know that America will never have a king. And you know that Jesus told you that God is the King of Kings. So the protest, what is it really about? Why are people so adamant with having a head-on collision with the federal government over policies and an agenda that you know the conservatives ran on? You know they ran on the deportation of illegal immigrants. You know they ran on these things, and they won. Now, the Democratic Party won't concede that they lost, and they're going out like sore losers. But you have a lot of disingenuous people on both sides. You have a far left agenda and a far right agenda. We know that there are racist people in the Democratic Party, just like there are racist people in the Republican Party. But no one's willing to call out the racism within their own party. So you have these two ideological differences going at each other. Neither one is willing to concede, and they have the masses of Americans caught in the middle. Now, I was watching all weekend how people were panicking because they saying in November they won't be getting their SNAP benefits and other benefits. People will still not be getting paid. The government has been shut down for 20 days with no end in sight. You have people on the left like Jasmine Crockett say she will not vote to open up the government unless the right concedes to health care for immigrants. Now, I don't know how you guys feel about that when American citizens don't even get free health care. But we won't talk about the elephant in the room. They keep trying to involve the black community in immigration. You have black people fighting and mad about illegal immigration when they're not even mad about the devastation and destruction in their own community. You have communities denying help from the National Guard and federal government to save their children. So we're looking at these people who would rather cut the baby in half than concede. But we have an even more sinister behind the scenes thing going on because now they feel like the black community is not showing up at the protests like they should. You're not out there caping for the liberals like you should. You're minding your own business and you're minding the business that pays you. And they got a problem with that. You know, they even wanted to cancel Stephen Smith for asking an honest question to a congresswoman. They called it misogyny and woman hating because he asked, what does all this hatred of Donald Trump get you? And then, as I said before on this show, the Republican parties don't own the word conservative. They didn't create the word. They can't take that. You can be conservative without being a Republican, just like you can be liberal without being a Democrat. But see, these two political parties are at war with each other ideologically. And people are caught in the middle because they don't do their homework. I had a friend of mine attacking me saying, you support a racist and you are from the same hood as me. And I had to tell him, I don't support no racist. But I have enough sense to think about what's in my best interest. It is not in my best interest to put myself on the front line for illegal immigrants who wouldn't do the same for me. I can't go to their country and get free benefits. So what's the real debate? The debate is about the law. The debate is about who wants to control you and be in power. But you got this mayor in Chicago. He's dog whistling to the masses of his constituents and inciting violence and inciting a civil war. You have Don Lemon telling black and brown people to go buy weapons for ICE. Now, this rhetoric is to incite you. It's to incite you into violence because that's what they need. They need something violent to happen. They need loss of life to say, I told you so. And when you think about the benefits being cut in the winter months, it's going to be devastating if they don't open the government up and they don't give these poor people or people who need these benefits these benefits. They're creating chaos and they're trying to incite you. And I want you to look at this video. I'm doing a reaction to the TD Media Group. I want you to see Don Lemon and Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson dog whistle and try to incite you into violence. Check this out. It's for fair use under the 1976 Copyright Act for education and commentary. Look at this.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you all for joining me today. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel, and most importantly, please make sure that you are following me on Telegram at TD Media Group to help circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. With the introduction out of the way, let's get into today's news. And today we are headed over to a random podcast. I don't know who this podcaster is, but he was interviewing Don Lemon, or maybe Don Lemon was interviewing him. Either way, it doesn't matter. But I want to head over here to this podcast that Don Lemon was on, because what he is going to do is prove the point that I've been making for quite some time now. And it's that DNC lunatics like himself are intentionally attempting to instigate armed conflict in America. That's what their intention. That's what their intention is, and what they are deliberately intending to do. They are trying to instigate armed conflict. One of the greatest points and idiots that I've used to highlight this point is Mayor Brandon Johnson out of Chicago. When you're making statements and lying, outright lying to the American people, saying that ICE is shooting Americans, they're killing Americans, and they're shooting people.
The federal government is shooting Americans. In the streets of America right now, the federal government is shooting and killing people.
And I can keep sharing that. I shared that video already with the TD Media and Terry, I think his name might be, and DeAndre. Shout out, DeAndre is looking better and better. He's rebuilding his studio. He was blogging out of his car for a little while there. So we've been praying for him, and I'm glad to see him with starting to get his backdrop back together of being in a home, and my prayers are going out to him every day, because we really went through a lot through this whole drama that we called the Biden years, right? And but to piggyback, I'm not really trying to piggyback off. How much time I got? I think I already said enough and gave y'all what time are we at? We at 21 minutes, so I do got 9 minutes of before I get to the 30-minute mark. I like to keep these under 30 minutes, so I'm not going to end it just yet. My focus is on the two mayors. When I see Eric Adams and I see pictures of him and his son, and of course he has a quote unquote baby mama, right? And I think Eric Adams he's Gen X, but he might be a baby boomer. He might be a very young baby boomer. So he might be, say, 1959 or 58 or something like that. He might be a little older, but I think he's a little younger. We can look all that up and go over. I might have even talked about it, but it's just to show that he's older than me, so I do give him a little more respect. His son is I think 20, and when I see the pictures of them together, it's like father and son, and it's like, so me and my little 14-year-old, hey, let's have a picnic together, or let's play a video game together, or let's shoot the basketball together. Four black men learning off of each other. What kind of business plans y'all coming up with? These are our business plans. What do you think about management? All right, and then we can also look at economics and how we can actually bring it together and work within a certain community, right? Because it is business management economics. It's business management economics. Now we're talking macro or micro. Now you're talking about, different aspects of it and how macro and micro. And I don't want to go that deep, that far into it yet. And when making a choice on your presentation of the numbers, right? Or abstract is how I like to present. So that's more of a macro understanding of how business management and economics work together. That's what hip hop started as back in the 1970s. All right, it was us coming together to have a block party, and we have a block party, and you know who the DJ was, and we all, and you would chase the little girls around, and the girls chase the boys, right? And they jump rope while we break danced or whatever, right? That was the culture, and that's what grew from it. It was our little business. It was our little management. It was our little economics. They broke that up specifically to hip hop. That's why I still reiterate to this day, we are more than just music. We are a culture, we are a consciousness, and a community. There it is. So, and Eric Adams knows this. It's just that him and his first wife, I don't know if he ever got married to her, didn't work. So yes, he had a new girlfriend, but he's not married. But I can go through that door. See, I should move around a little bit. See, wait, something hit me? I don't know. See, I can roll around and stuff. I can go there. So you know what I mean? I just wanted to move around a little bit to show y'all that this is live, and it's a dark game, as you can see. You fight. You can do weapons and stuff. You see, there's a hammer right there. But it's an action RPG, just like Zelda. It's a little faster paced than Zelda. More combos and things of that nature. And like I said, it's an indie game, so a small group of people just came together and was able to come together and had an idea, and we'll figure out who the leader is and all that, and the main creator and things of that nature. And these are one of my minions that I saved or whatever. So they nice right now, but when we get into that dark realm, they probably turn big and evil or whatever. But we'll talk more about that later on. To sum it up, let me sum it up, because I'm really not in my Zach Scott demo the game and talk about the game right now. Eric Adams was betrayed. He's a boss, right? And the same thing happened to Como during the debate. So they got Adams to. That's why I shared the his exit conference or whatever. They had a little news conference or whatever, and in it he started pointing at the media and condemning them for all of the accusations that they were able to make against him, even though they was false, right? He had to let the process go out. Now that has been happening to the main group who experience segregation the most, and that's foundational Black Americans like myself, like Eric Adams, right? Desegregation was directly pointing or directly affecting us, and that's what caused the gentrification. That's what caused our neighborhoods to change from predominantly foundational Black American to predominantly immigrants. Now the immigrants are moving into the white areas, right? And we're being blockaded again. Like, we're still, some of us that are able to keep their families together and be strong enough to overcome it. But when you're looking at statistics that say over 70% of black children are growing up in single parent homes, right? Whereas only 20% of Asian children are growing up in single parent homes. You see a very, very big disparity. Now, are they having multiple wives and all that? The Asians, yes, they are, but they stay on code, right? Black women are not on code right now. That's the major problem, right? Black men, we on code. We doing what we need to do, taking care of our business, and yes, in some ways suffering the consequences of, right? Like Eric Adams is, he should be the mayor again. He is the most qualified person running to be the mayor of New York. But to see Cuomo and this Mandani have a debate, and Mandani pulls out 12 women out of the crowd saying that they're the women that accused him of sexual harassment on the workplace, right? That's a no. Like, no, you ain't supposed to be doing that at no, right? Like, you're convicting him of something very heinous, a heinous crime, right? That he may or may not have been guilty of. Like, you're cheating, right? That's what the Republicans are saying. Like, no, you ain't supposed to do that, right? The Democrats are saying, well, he shouldn't have been practicing adultery, right? Even though the whole LGBTQIA plus, like, that whole group is practicing adultery. Even though they're getting away with very, very bad things, we as Foundation B1, foundational black Americans, not like us, Generation X, we still need to stay on code, love God, our Father, all the time, hip hop life. Love your mother, okay? God is love, hip hop is life, time is precious. I'll even say it's holy. It's God given. Money, that ain't nothing but a fourth dimensional illusion that really doesn't exist. Because it's hip hop. That's the art of making the most out of life. One, God is understood. Peace, harmony, and happiness is what I wish for you all